Good morning to all, and I see that we successfully sprang forward. My name is Sophie Twerkowski, and I will be assisting in today's service. I use the pronouns she and hers. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of New Haven on this first day of daylight savings. As we move forth in this transition to longer days of light, may we experience moments of quiet reflection, engage in acts of kindness, enjoy nature, laugh, show gratitude, find joy, and act on our shared values of equity, compassion, and justice. May we rise up to the social justice challenges that we encounter, and may we demonstrate our faith in action. This morning, I extend a welcome to all newcomers, guests, and members. We are glad that you have decided to spend this hour with us. We come together today, putting away our worries for an hour to be renewed, supported, and challenged. We come into this space, a community that is strengthened by our diversity of thought, orientation, and lifestyle, a community committed to equity and social justice, a community that responds with courage, resilience, and collective power, a beacon of hope. We bring all that we are to this moment, this place, this beloved community, knowing that our whole selves are welcome here. Before we join together to participate into service, I have a few brief announcements to highlight. If you are new or recently been attending, our welcome team will be meeting in the social hall after the service to answer any questions you may have. After today's service, there will be a second climate revival in our social hall from 12:15 to 1:30. Participants will learn about ongoing efforts of community partners and legislative initiatives addressing impacts of the climate crisis. Then we'll work together to develop a congregational plan of action. All are invited to stay and engage in this important work. Also today, our next-door neighbors, Congregation Michigan Israel, are hosting a Hamden-specific Connect meeting. This is to collaborate locally and grow our collective power. We'll hear about relics of segregation and efforts for justice in Newhall. Join us for an hour meeting at 2:30 with a snack reception following. You can fight the despair and support New Haven Rising, a community organization of residents committed to winning economic, racial, and social justice through collective action. The anti-racism team and the Waverly USNH partnership will have a table in the social hall with petitions and to answer any questions that you may have. And two more upcoming events we want you to mark your calendars. Next Sunday, the Authentic Selves book discussion will take place from 12 to 1:30, and that our stewardship dinner will be held on March 29th, so please jot those down on your calendar. A few reminders: we continue to set aside 2 designated spaces in our sanctuary. Masks are required if you choose to sit in the first 5 rows in front of the piano. Families with small children are also invited to take part in using the space in the rear of the sanctuary where age-appropriate materials and seating are available for your comfort. Every week we lift up the spirit of generosity by taking an offering for the ministries and maintenance of USNH. Our beloved community continues to grow, and so does your support needed for this effort. If you are present, there will be ushers with collection plates at the rear of the sanctuary at the end of the service. Your order of service also lists other options for making your donation. Finally, if you haven't already, please silence your devices as we take a calming, deep breath and settle in for today's Sunday service.
Thank you, Sophie. My name is Reverend Stephen Kendrick. I am delighted that you're with us for worship. I'm feeling a little abashed. I preached my sermon an hour ago. It was terrific. I'm sorry you missed it. But we're all here now, and that's just fantastic. And I'd like to read some words from the Unitarian minister, Robert Weston. Let no one fear the truth. The doubt may consume it, for doubt is a testing of belief. The truth stands boldly and unafraid. It is not shaken by testing. For truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure. Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help. It is to the wise as a staff to the blind. Doubt is the attendant of truth. And it is in this spirit that we have lit our chalice this morning, and it is in this spirit that we are going to share together our first hymn, 293, O Star of Truth, with the words from Minot Judson Savage, a great Boston minister from the 1880s. As we rise to sing, if you have an especial joy or sorrow in your heart, we invite you, please, to come forward if you would like to light one of the candles for joy, or if you would wish to place a stone into the water for a sorrow. This is one way, among many, that we share the common life of our hearts and our hopes. Hymn 293, O Star of Truth, please rise as you are willing and able.
And please be seated, my friends. My name is Jesse, my pronouns are he and him, and it's my delight with you to share with you this morning a story that is still ongoing. Our story begins at the very beginning, the outset of the career of a bright, ambitious salesman. This salesman makes his way up the 95 corridor with a suitcase full of the newest in new vitamin products. This product is called Vitamax, and he arrives in the city of New Heathen with his suitcase and his wares ready to sell. But right before he goes to the market to open up his suitcase and sell, he receives a call from the home office, and they say, "We have made a terrible mistake. Instead of filling the capsules of Vitamax with vitamins, we filled them by accident with air." And sure enough, the salesman opens up the box and pulls out a brand new bottle of Vitamax, and all the capsules are see-through. Now, the salesman has invested his own money, his own time, in bringing these wares to the city of New Heathen, and so he decides quickly that he's going to tell a very small fib. Goes out to the marketplace and starts advertising around the marketplace, come and get the brand new Vitamax Miracle Vitamin, light as air. It will give you long life, it will cure your asthma, it will wash your dishes. And people line up to buy this new miracle drug, and they buy out his entire supply. The salesman goes to bed that night thinking, what a great success. But of course, the next day when he goes to the market, there's a line of people saying, you sold us a load of hot air. And he thinks quickly, he says, uh-oh, I didn't anticipate this happening. Look over there, it's Doge. And he grabs a nearby bottle and writes something on it and says, didn't you read the instructions carefully? It says right here in big black Sharpie, these vitamins only work if taken with yak milk. Well, it just so happens that Yak Milk International is a subsidiary of Vitamax. So all the people went across the market and began to buy up the entire supply of yak milk. They went home that night and they took their Vitamax along with a warm glass of yak milk. And the next day, guess what? There at the market, our salesman found a line of people who said, I still don't feel the miracle effects of this Vitamax. I took it along with yak milk as instructed. The salesman said, give me one moment. And he took out a laptop computer. And he said, did you happen to see the latest research from absolutelyvalidresearch.com? There is a new study that I have just that was just published, that absolutely swears that Vitamax will work miracles if taken with yak milk while skydiving. So the people went, and some of them signed up for skydiving lessons, but some of the people of New Heathen decided that they kind of wanted to do some of their own research about this. And they began to look into the vast World Wide Web. And they found all kinds of information about Vitamax. Some of them found information saying it was a total scam. Some of them found posts about how it was the most amazing miracle thing that since sliced bread. Some of them said, I took it while skydiving and it's worked wonders for my arthritis. Well, at this point, a new shipment arrived. And this time, Vitamax actually had the vitamins in it. The salesman said, all right, it's time to put all this behind me. I'm going to go back down to the marketplace, and this time I'll sell it, and people will feel the effects. But you will never believe what happened when he went to the market the next day. He arrived at the market with the real Vitamax in a suitcase, and there was complete and total chaos. Some people were lined up to buy the Vitamax. Some people were protesting with big signs. Some people said that he was now selling junk medicine because it wasn't clear like before. Some people were trying to get out from underneath parachutes. And that's where we leave this story. Because, my friends, that's where we are. Let's try to figure out how this story ends. I'm going to try to do so with any young children right now up in the children's chapel. And I invite the rest of you to try to figure out what happens next in this story here with Reverend Stephen for the rest of this service. If you figure it out, will you let me know? Let's sing our children on their way with Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Covenant lies at the center of how Unitarian Universalists gather in community. Our covenant unites us by the promises we make about how we will be together, how we will treat each other, how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. Together we'll recite a brief version of our covenant. While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lies and breathes in our actions. Please join me in reading the words that appear in your order of service or on the chat on the live stream. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy. Today's stewardship testimonial will be given by Elisa Chapin.
My name is Elisa Chapin. My pronouns are she, her. I was first carried through these doors in the autumn of 2017 by an unassuming invitation from my now husband, Kevin. I go to this kind of a church on Sundays if you're interested in joining me. I had not imagined the transformative power of this innocuous suggestion on that day. I always thought of myself as open-minded, so I thought to myself, sure, why not? I did not know at that time that I was laying the solid foundation on which I would be building the rest of my life. I joined the following year. Reverend Megan Lloyd Joyner gave a sermon that very first day, sincere and deeply heartfelt as always. For the first time in my life, I felt drawn into the words by the very timbre of the voice of another human being, and I had no conflict with any of the finer points made, which is a luxury that I find only here, even now. I left 700 Hartford Turnpike that day, knowing I had finally come home. I had never been so connected to a sermon before. When Reverend Megan announced her impending departure, Kevin and I had no choice but to act. We immediately got to work planning our wedding, which took place a few short months later on June 22nd, 2019, as we could not imagine having any other officiant, and with no idea what the future would hold other than knowing that we were fully anchored in our community by our shared values. The roots planted on that first Sunday reach deeper with every interaction that I have here. I wasn't exactly looking for my village when I found it. I had grown comfortable being uncomfortable among my kin due to philosophical differences, but also knew that I wanted something more for my children. I wanted any hypothetical future children to be accepted for who they are and encouraged to grow well as individuals. In order to raise good people, we have to be and surround ourselves with good people. The children are not hypothetical anymore. The future is now. I am privileged that I was given the opportunity by this congregation to serve on the Board of Trustees, and I am currently in my second year. Giving back and stewardship have always been core values whenever I think about anything of true worth. When gifted something great, we want to keep it nice, preserve it, improve it if possible, and hand it gently to the next generation in the hopes that they will do the same with that legacy. I get to see the ways in which we care for each other and our future as a whole, and I want to preserve, improve, and gift this same beloved community to those who will come next, to those we have yet to meet, and to those who will bring us forth into the future. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sunny. I'm the ministerial intern here at USNH. My pronouns are she and her. In today's sermon, Reverend Stephen will be exploring how to survive in an era of lies and gaslighting. In that spirit, I think there are some things we can do to support our survival in these times. First, we can come together in a community that values truth and integrity, a community like the Unitarian Society of New Haven. For those who may be checking out our USNH community for the first, second, third time, we invite you to join our new to USNH class that we'll be holding on Saturday, April 12th. It's a basic orientation toward our life and our culture here at USNH, and you can just speak with Libby, our connections coordinator, to get on the invite list for that. Second, and this relates to our meditation for today, we can survive in an era of lies and gaslighting by going inward. Not in denial or avoidance, but I mean as a baseline before headlines. I mean doing what civil rights leader and mystic Howard Thurman calls centering down. As I read this meditation today, which comes from a book of meditations by Thurman, I invite you to close your eyes if that feels safe and comfortable, and allow yourself to take a few moments to center down. How good it is to center down, to sit quietly and see one's self pass by. The streets of our minds seethe with endless traffic. Our spirits resound with clashings, with noisy silences, while something deep within hungers and thirsts for the still moment and the resting lull. With full intensity we seek, ere the quiet passes, a fresh sense of order in our living, a direction, a strong, sure purpose that will structure our confusion and bring meaning in our chaos. We look at ourselves in this waiting moment, the kinds of people we are. The questions persist. What are we doing with our lives? What are the motives that order our days? What is the end of our doings? Where are we trying to go? Where do we put the emphasis and where are our values focused? For what end do we make sacrifices? Where is my treasure and what do I love most in life? What do I hate most in life and to what am I true? Over and over the questions beat in upon the waiting moment. As we listen, floating up through all the jangling echoes of our turbulence, there is a sound of another kind, a deeper note which only the stillness of the heart makes clear. It moves directly to the core of our being. Our questions are answered, our spirits refreshed, and we move back into the traffic of our daily round with the peace of the eternal in our step. How good it is to center down. And now, as we take a brief moment of silence, after which we'll be called back by a USNH anthem from our choir, I invite you to listen here for that deeper note which only the stillness of the heart makes clear. And now, the USNH choir.
dreamed of rains and the rains came, soft and sweet, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, and the green was easy and the rivers ran clear. I dreamed of summer and the winds changed, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers grew in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain and the rains came, and peace spread over the I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and the way was easy and the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. And the bright stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, the song was easy, the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. And the ancient days are and the fallen steps are clear. I dreamed of heaven and the earth sang. Peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain and the rains came. I dreamed of rains and the rains came.
The unusual title of this sermon occurred to me while I was watching our president, our new president, and he said, "People can't believe what they're saying." And I thought to myself, I have never heard truer words about the realities that we are living among. And that reality is like trying to get a sip of truth from a fire hose of lies. And if you stop and drill down a little bit, people can't believe what they're seeing. It could be an observation. It's also a subtle command. People can't believe what they're seeing. We've always understood from the time of George Orwell and long before that, Will Rogers once said, if you take lying out of politics, you don't have politics anymore. We understand that. The old Marx Brothers line, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? But the truth of the matter is, we're moving from a time of doublespeak, Orwellian doublespeak, into a time where we're actually being asked not to believe what our very eyes perceive. This is a moral crisis. This is not just an epistemological discussion. It's not philosophical. It's not even in its essence a political discussion. It's about something more subtle and powerful, and I would submit to you, insidious. It is a moral crisis. When the fog of lies begins to obscure reality, that is the true test of any regime. Can you get people to disbelieve their own eyes and their own ears, their own experience? And on the surface, this seems like an imposing task. But when a leader can induce this shared psychosis among followers, then they are rolling. Orwell said, "The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was the final, most essential command." Facts are always going to be debatable. And thank goodness, opinions will always vary. They vary even within this congregation, that's for darn sure. But surmounting the visual hurdle is a daunting and incredibly frightening achievement. I believe that this all began in a quote that I believe is probably the most important quote of the last 25 years. And it was given anonymously, but we now know it was from Karl Rove, Bush's brain. And he was being quoted in the Sunday New York Times by the reporter Ron Suskind. And Rove spoke to Suskind and said, "You all," meaning reporters and us, "you all are in what we used to call the reality-based community. You believe that solutions emerge from your judicious study of discernible reality. But that's not the way the world really works anymore. We are an empire. And when we act, we create our own reality. And while you're studying that reality, judiciously as you will, we act again, creating other new realities which you can study too. We are history's actors." And if you're wondering what the shock and awe of the last 7 weeks has been about, it goes all the way back to Karl Rove. Yeah, the president is at the very summit of Americans' con game. But the truth of the matter is, this is a long, deep effort. And it goes to the very heart of a different kind of politics. And it creates a different kind of culture. And it's not one that we have any desire to live in for the rest of our lives. Orwell said words that haunt me. He said, fascism is like a boot in your face and it goes on forever. We have to make sure nothing like this goes on forever. And yes, why am I talking about this from the pulpit? Because people have always understood in the spiritual realm that truth matters. Why did they call the devil the father of lies? Because we don't accept lying in our family life. We wouldn't accept lies from the principal of our children's school. We wouldn't want lies from this pulpit. We don't want lies anywhere. And yet, we heard a cascade of false statistics about Social Security for about 4 minutes on Tuesday night's so-called address to the nation, none of which were true, very little fact-checking, because what was being done was not the statistics that were ladled out for us, but the beginning of a new mega story that can roll over people like you and me. Truth in this kind of environment is less about correlation to reality than it is an adherence to a perceived authority figure aligned with personality and force. So it's not about truth or lies so much as it is about domination. MAGA world is formed by a strange amalgamation of folks that know they're hearing lies and believe that a higher truth is being expressed through the personality of the leader, and people that will believe what they're hearing even though it might be different from what they heard yesterday. And you and I don't have to waste any energy or time trying to figure out which is which. Because in point of fact, it works. Even things that cannot be true, cannot in the history of the universe be true, are accepted as true if they reveal a fantastic, and I would submit conspiratorial, overstory over just dry, dreary reality. A comprehensive story. Or simply whatever seems real and passionate and relatable, and the word you hear over and over again, authentic. I felt this bond with him because he's so authentic. From the chief storyteller strongman. And sometimes just what feels good to hear, even if we know it's not true. Or sometimes, and this is what I fear, sometimes what feels good is to hate. Living in a time of lies and disinformation, as I said, isn't so much an issue of, gosh, that fact isn't true, as one about one who can tell the most powerful and overriding story and who has dominion. MAGA, in this sense, is an art form as much as it's a way of politics, because it's the construction of overarching myths that roll over you and me. And that's why we confront it from the pulpit, this pulpit. Because we also have an overarching story. It has the additional wonderfulness of happening to be true. that a world in which bullying and cynicism constitute force is not a democracy that we can accept. All this, I know, I get it. It's dismaying. It's disheartening. But I don't think it does us any good to turn our heads. Because we do have a truth, a transcendent truth of love and not brutality. You know, we're going to be having in a few minutes the Climate Change Revival Part 2. You know, you can hear about the dismissal of the, quote, New Green Deal scam, or you can hear about that climate change has to be scrubbed from every government website, deleted, as if that makes a single bit of difference to the reality that when a glacier melts, it melts. And that when a hurricane, force 5, hits Florida, people die. And what's even weirder in the reality, this distortion field that we're living in, is now we've decided it's an equally good idea to take people out of the weather service so that we can't get proper radar. Hitler once talked freely about the utility and effectiveness of what he openly called the big lie. Now we are living in a time where people can't believe what they're seeing, where we're living in the viral lie. George Orwell lived through Nazism, and although he was a socialist, a Stalinist era, so he knew what he was talking about in defining what he called doublespeak. He said this: to know, and at the same time not to know, to be conscious of complete truthfulness while telling carefully constructed lies, to hold simultaneously two opinions which cancel out, knowing them to be contrasting and yet believing both of them, to use logic against logic, to repudiate morality while claiming to it. And we're moving past Orwell, weirdly, strangely, sadly. We're triple speak now, where we know, and we also don't know, and we're also quite content knowing that if it brings power, it's worth the lie. So you and I have to pledge to one another some simple and yet difficult things. That this reality is unacceptable in all forms. We understand that there will always be spin. We understand that there will always be self-deception. We understand that no one and no ideology is perfect, nor any faith. But we will stand with truth. And we will understand words that have been around for about 2,000 years, that the truth shall set you free. And what does that mean? That we can learn to tell our truth in compelling ways. Yes, using repetition. Yes, evoking passion. Yes, with deep commitment. Yes, always respecting others, but also understanding a need in this situation to prevail. And to tell this truth in such vivid and vibrant ways, with all the power of myth and poetry and heart, as well as fact, to find our story, which is beyond mere political argument. For many years, I've defined spirituality as being as much truth as you can stand. It goes alongside that statement that the truth shall set you free. As much truth as you can testify to, as much truth as you can ascertain, as much truth as you're willing to share with relatives and friends, or with your editorial to a local paper. Anywhere, anytime, you can speak for the truth against lies. That's what we do. It's so strange, but history certainly tells us this is true, that not everyone around us wishes such freedom, that an inner truth need not align with reality. That's hard for us to accept. Some of our fellow citizens accept this, but we can't. And that we need to be free to engage with the truth that sets us free. And that means that everything that you and I can do in this faith and as citizens in this community, that we have elections. And if we have elections, that the votes are actually counted. Because this is a spiritual essence of democracy, that every voice matters. Every voice is an individual standing up and testifying to their truth and to a higher truth. Even in a time of lies, we have to fight for the freedom to approach and uphold any semblance of a shared reality. And I hesitate to go here, but I think I need to. I think it's the chief way that we can identify the fruits of this freedom that truth gives us in a simple but not necessarily readily apparent fact. So, I know that you can lie and distort and fabricate on almost any subject at any time for almost any purpose. I get that. But lately, I've been trying to inwardly track where most of this cascade of falsehoods have been leading. They're being told that vaccines don't work, and that we were told just this week that cod liver oil is just as effective as vaccines in dealing with the measles outbreak in now 8 states and 2 deaths. That we need to reduce the staff of the Federal Aviation System, even people in control towers. I put Liz on a plane to Virginia this week. Man, it was great to pick her up last night. But can I just say that that is insane? That this nation need not send food aid to poor nations around the world. And in fact, we're actually leaving food to rot at docks around the world because we won't distribute it. That the PREPER program for HIV treatment for thousands is being stopped in mid-treatment. That we pulled out of the World Health Organization. And our scientists need not be part of investigating and dealing with a Ebola outbreak in Africa that's killed 14 people. That Medicaid can be drastically cut to our poor, most rural areas of our country, hey, red states, and every state, and maybe Social Security and Medicare after that, can be stripped away from millions. And I thought to myself, where are all these things leading to? Yes, they're born in falsehoods. Yes, they bear the stamp of cruelty. But where they lead to is people dying. So fidelity to truth is ultimately to stand up and do everything within our power to protect others so that people don't die. People aren't harmed. To remember the words of Deuteronomy, I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life that you and your children may live. That's truth. But we must accept this pledge to each other for life, to protect one another, to be on the barricades of truth, not to win a political argument or to get dominion over other people, but to simply protect them from being harmed, from dying. That's what happens when you resist the lie of lies, is that you stand up for simple humanity and decency. This is the higher truth. This is where we must stand. This is where we must go. People can't believe what they're seeing. No, they can't. We have to look deep within ourselves. We have to center down, and then we have to act, and then we must be truthful to one another. Truthful in all the things that matter, to support life and liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and simple life, to protect each other, to serve each other, to say the truth, and make it stick. Amen. Hymn number 298, Wake Now My Senses. 298. Senses and hear the earth call. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason. As Sophie extinguishes our chalice, let us all say together, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now may peace, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge of love, and may this peace be yours in the week to come. We invite you to join us for the climate revival. We invite you to join us for community and fellowship and friendship, to be together. Amen, and go in peace.